You spent money on fertilizer last season, maybe the season before that too, and your plants still struggled, still yellowed, still died early. Here's the question nobody asks. What if the fertilizer isn't helping? What if it's actually part of the problem? The fertilizer industry in this country runs $24 billion a year. Not one penny of that goes toward telling you what I'm about to tell you. Because what I'm about to tell you, you can't buy in a bag. Some of it is already in your kitchen trash. Some of it grows wild at the edge of your yard. Some of it comes from your animals. And one of these methods, I'll warn you now, comes out of the bathroom. We'll get there. But first, let's talk about what that blue crystal fertilizer is actually doing to your soil. The real cost nobody mentions. Chemical fertilizer feeds the plant. That part is true, but it does something else at the same time. Something the bag never mentions. It starves the soil. Synthetic nitrogen floods the root zone. The soil bacteria that normally break down organic matter, they slow down. They don't need to work anymore. The plant is getting fed directly. So the whole underground ecosystem, the fungi, the microbes, the worm population, it collapses over time. You feed the plant. You kill the soil. Next season, the soil needs even more synthetic input just to perform the same way. That's not gardening. That's dependency. The dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico. The collapsed soil structure across the Great Plains. All of it traces back to one decision, made in 1913, when synthetic nitrogen entered agriculture and never left. You don't need to fix the Gulf of Mexico. You just need to fix your garden bed. And for that, the old methods don't just compete with chemical fertilizer. They beat it. Read the plant first, before anything else. Stop diagnosing wrong. A plant that looks dead is almost never dead. The crispy brown leaves are gone. They won't come back. But the rest of the plant? Usually fine. Usually starving for one specific thing. Here's how you read it fast. Bottom leaves turning yellow while the top stays green. That's nitrogen. The plant is robbing its older leaves to feed new growth. New leaves yellowing with green veins still visible. That's iron. Sometimes magnesium. Scratch the stem with your thumbnail. Still green underneath. The plant is alive. Don't pull it. Black sunken patch on the bottom of a tomato. That's calcium moving too slowly into the fruit. Wilting leaves when the soil is wet. That's root rot, not drought. Completely different fix. Now, here's the science that changes everything about how you fertilize. In the 1950s at Michigan State University, two researchers sprayed radioactive phosphorus onto plant leaves and tracked where it went with Geiger counters. What they found rewrote the rulebook. Nutrients sprayed on a leaf travel through the entire plant at roughly 1 foot per hour. Up to 65 of foliar nitrogen is absorbed in under 25 minutes. A struggling tomato doesn't have to wait 2 weeks for soil bacteria to break down granular fertilizer. Sprayed on the leaves at sundown. It can be visibly greener by morning. That's the engine behind everything on this list. From smoke, wood vinegar. This one has more peer-reviewed research behind it than almost anything else on this list. And almost no one in America has heard of it. When you burn wood slowly in a low-oxygen environment, a brown smoke rises off the pile. Cool that smoke down and it condenses into a dark liquid. That liquid is wood vinegar. Over 200 chemical compounds, captured straight out of the smoke. In 2025, a meta-review pulled together 65 peer-reviewed studies covering 33 different crops. Average yield increase across all of them, 21%. Plant biomass up 25%. Fungal disease suppressed at the same time. The recipe: 1 teaspoon per gallon of water. Spray on leaves or pour at the root zone. Do not go stronger. Above 1%, it starts killing weeds. Above 3%, it's a herbicide. From your medicine cabinet: aspirin. This sounds like folklore. It's actually some of the best understood biology in modern plant science. When a plant gets infected by a fungus or bacteria, it produces a compound called salicylic acid. That compound switches on the plant's entire immune system. The active ingredient in aspirin breaks down into salicylic acid. Spray it on a tomato leaf, and you've told the whole plant, trouble is coming. Get ready. One regular 325 milligram aspirin tablet, uncoated, dissolved in 1 gallon of water. Add a single drop of dish soap so it sticks. Spray every 2 to 3 weeks. Start before the plant gets sick. This is prevention, not cure. From the ocean, seaweed extract, the most studied biostimulant on Earth. More peer-reviewed research behind it than any other natural plant input on the market. Seaweed is loaded with natural plant hormones, cytokinins that push new shoots, auxins that signal root growth, betaines that help a plant survive heat, drought, and transplant shock. A 2013 study showed that within 24 to 96 hours of a seaweed application, the plant's own hormone-producing genes start firing harder. Cabbage transplants dipped in seaweed had 33 more leaf weight 4 weeks later. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They go too strong. At 1 part in 100, seaweed actually slowed root growth on tomatoes. At 1 part in 600, the same product boosted root growth by 60. Use less, not more. From your fence line, stinging nettle tea. There's a weed growing along almost every fence in the country. Most people consider it a pest. French farmers ferment it in a bucket and use it as fertilizer. Stinging nettle has one of the highest free amino acid concentrations of any wild plant. A 2021 study tested fermented nettle extract on green beans. The result: nettle extract matched commercial urea for stem height, a free fertilizer from a weed, matching a synthetic. Cut a pound of fresh nettles. Wear gloves. Stuff them into a 5-gallon bucket. Cover with water. Stir every couple of days. After 10 to 14 days, strain off the liquid. Dilute 1 part to 10 for soil drench, 1 to 20 for foliar spray. Put the bucket downwind. It will smell. From Korea, calcium acetate for blossom end rot. Black patch on the bottom of your tomato. That's calcium not moving into the fruit fast enough. The fix: roast eggshells in a dry skillet for 30 minutes until light brown. Crush them coarsely. Add 1 part shells to 10 parts vinegar in a glass jar. Cover with cloth. Never a sealed lid. The reaction releases gas. Wait 7 to 20 days until the bubbling stops. Strain. Dilute 1 teaspoon per gallon of water. Spray before flowering and during fruit set. Every fruit that sets after application. Clean bottoms. No black patches. From your animals, rabbit manure. Most manure has to be aged. Chicken manure is so hot with ammonia it'll burn roots off in 2 days if applied fresh. Rabbit manure is different. It's the only common manure on Earth you can use straight from the animal. Same day. No composting. No waiting. Old-time farmers called it cold manure. The nitrogen releases slowly. No burn. The pellets are dry, almost odorless. NPK runs roughly 2-to-1. Compare that to cow manure at 0.5% across the board. Rabbit pellets carry 4 times more nitrogen than cow patties. Drop 2 cups of pellets into a pillowcase. Tie the top. Drop it in a 5-gallon bucket of water for 2 to 3 days. Dilute the tea to the color of weak coffee. Pour at the root zone. Visible greening in 3 to 5 days. From your kitchen, fish hydrolysate. The Pilgrims didn't survive their first winter because of pumpkins. A Wampanoag man named Tisquantum taught them to bury a fish under each hill of corn. That wasn't superstition. That was the original liquid fertilizer. Modern fish hydrolysate is the same idea, processed cold with enzymes. NPK around 411 plus 16 amino acids. The cheap fish emulsion at most garden stores is steam cooked. The heat destroys the proteins and burns off the oils. You're left with the nitrogen, and not much else. Get the hydrolysate. 1 teaspoon per gallon. Pour at the root zone once a week during vegetative growth. Stop once fruit starts setting. From your dairy, milk spray. In 1999, a Brazilian scientist sprayed diluted cow's milk on zucchini plants. 10% milk, 90% water. Twice a week. He compared it to synthetic fungicide and to plain water. Water control plants. Disease severity hit 56%. Synthetic fungicide brought it down to 9. The milk spray, 10%. Statistically the same as the chemical. When milk dries on a leaf in sunlight, proteins react with ultraviolet light to produce oxygen radicals. Those radicals collapse fungal cell walls within hours. Apply on a sunny morning between sunup and noon. The UV light is what activates the chemistry. Spray at dusk, and almost nothing happens. Real dairy only. Plant milks don't work. There's no lactoferrin in oat milk. From the worm bin. Vermicompost tea. Worm castings outperformed regular compost on yield, growth, and disease suppression across 20 years of field trials. The active ingredients aren't just nutrients. They're humic acids, fulvic acids, and a community of plant growth-promoting bacteria that worms cultivate in their guts. 1 cup of castings in a mesh bag. Suspended in 5 gallons of dechlorinated water. 1 teaspoon of molasses. Aerate with an aquarium pump for 24 hours. Use within 4 hours of pulling the pump. The microbes start dying off as soon as the oxygen runs out. The one nobody talks about. Human urine. Fresh, healthy urine is sterile when it leaves the body. Roughly 95% water. The rest is urea. Trace minerals. And salts. NPK averages around 11-1-2.5, comparable to commercial liquid lawn fertilizers. The Rich Earth Institute in Vermont has been running a community-scale urine recycling program since 2012. Their hay yields match synthetic fertilizer, published in peer-reviewed journals. Switzerland approved the world's first government-certified urine-based commercial fertilizer in 2018. The recipe: 1 part urine to 10 parts water. Pour at the root zone only. Never on leaves. Never on parts you'll eat raw. Every farming culture older than 4,000 years did this. Most people in this country flush it down the drain every morning. What to do with all of this? Don't try to use all 21 at once. Pick 3 or 4 that fit your situation. If you keep rabbits, you have cold manure. If you make yogurt, you have whey. If you heat with wood, you have ash. If you live near the coast, you have seaweed. Spray foliars at dawn or dusk, never midday. Dilute everything. More is almost never better. Watch the plant. The plant tells you what it needs. Older leaves yellowing. Nitrogen. New leaves yellowing with green veins. Iron. Wet soil. Wilting plant. Root rot. The kitchen. The bathroom. The woodpile. The fence line. Every single one of them is a free fertilizer factory. The gardener who knows how to work all of them never buys a bag of fertilizer again.